We all know what we eat can affect our weight. It can even affect our mood. But did you know what you're feeding your child could actually significantly reduce symptoms of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder in young children? Joining us now to tell us more is Dr. Don Colbert. Good morning. Thank you so much for coming in.
Hey, thank you. It's great being here.
You deal a lot in your practice with diet and health. This new study that came out shows that there is a drastic change in what happens to children when you literally just take them off the processed foods. Would you agree with what happened?
Oh, it's amazing. I've seen this over the years. Realize 78% of the children, when they went off these processed foods, they had reduction of 24 points in their ADHD score, which is significant. There's an ADHD scoring method we use between 0 and 72. And 72 is the worst. And these people that went off the processed food had a decrease of 24 points, which is pretty amazing.
It is amazing when you see that it was 80% were all affected by this diet. It seems like it's something that would be easy to try. Let's talk a little bit about the foods they fed, because this would obviously, if you were thinking about doing this for your child, be a drastic change likely in the way you fed them. So what did they give these kids?
Well, what they gave them first, they gave them meat, just pretty much any meat. They gave them rice, pears, and vegetables, and they fed them water. And then later they added wheat and potatoes and fruits. But again, these are all non-processed food. Now, the interesting thing, there were two groups of children. There are 100 children with ADHD between the ages of 4 and 8. And the children that were in the control group that didn't get this restrictive diet, they had no change in their ADHD symptoms.
I thought that was intriguing, because oftentimes you at least get a placebo effect, but it was absolutely no change.
No change at all. But the other group that was on the restricted diet for 5 weeks, 78% of the children responded. But when they reintroduced the foods, 2/3 of them relapsed and had the ADHD symptoms of problems, keeping their attention, problems concentrating, fidgety, hyperactive. Those are the symptoms of ADHD.
This is obviously in a study we're looking at, but have you actually had patients in your practice you've seen go on some diet like this and then see the changes quickly?
Absolutely. And the big thing we find is the preservatives and the food additives. We try and get them off these processed foods. Now, sure, some children do have some food sensitivities or food allergies, and we commonly will get them off the dairy. I will take them off wheat. I don't like the wheat. I like the millet more because so many people react to it, as well as the soy. But the big problem they're finding are the food additives and preservatives that are in these processed foods.
I think a lot of parents are probably at home thinking this sounds so overwhelming to have such a restriction, because it's so easy to give your family something out of a box or something out of a package. So in the end, it really comes down to just as much as you possibly can. If your kid has ADHD, maybe trying to cook things more naturally, actually getting the ingredients and mixing it up instead of going for something out of a box.
Absolutely. And again, this was a 5-week study, and they shouldn't do this on their own. They should do this under the advice of a pediatrician, family doctor, or a dietitian.
Are there any drawbacks you see from this kind of diet?
Well, again, long term, they need to get their calories, because this is children between the ages of 4 and 8. So again, we have to make sure they get their amount of good fats, good proteins, good carbohydrates. And so if they don't, they won't grow sufficiently. So again, that's why they need to be supervised.
So always talk to your doctor, but it's certainly exciting to see that what you eat can change without having to put your child on drugs so they can sit still at school.
And again, they theorize, hey, since foods can affect eczema, asthma, as well as GI symptoms, hey, it can also affect the brain, and it can cause these problems in behavior, and yes, they proved it.
Trying to protect our kids' brains. Dr. Don Colbert, thanks so much for coming in and sharing your thoughts on this diet with us.